Alright, doing another camera experiment, so you have to bear with this. Sorry about the volume on the other one. I can't play the sound. I can't play the videos in the editor as it crashes. So sometimes I don't know if the volume is not similar between clips if I switch clips for volume. But anyway, we are working on we'll fix these little bugs. So anyway, trying something new. Trying rotating the 16 by 9 image and then putting that in a high definition video with something in the other box, of course, which is going to probably be a macro. I did a modification to this old flip, the oldest version, which I like. These are so durable and tough. I mean, the resolution isn't great. I mean, it's only 640 by 480, but they're just such a nice. They're got a little weight to them. They're batteries. Well, anyway, I'll do videos on video cameras because a lot of lame bullshit in these cameras. So anyway, but yeah, I did augmented it, put a macro lens, glued one on there. So this will be my little quick macro camera. I mean, it is quick, I mean, you just hit the button. So you hit the button, it goes a little flippy thing, and then you just say, you hit the little red button, and it goes, and the upload is easy. It's AVI file, and it's really well. Anyway, so the accompanying video is fruit flies. Yeah, yeah, I trapped some in the bag. I had a problem because I bought too many apples, and one of them must have gone bad, and whatever. But anyway, um, so yeah, and so I was just contemplating them. I was actually talking to somebody last night. Um, it was a regular fly. Got in the house yesterday. I had the damn door open, so I was dusting. Got a vacuum later, but that's always funny. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, the fruit fly thing. And so anyway, I was talking to somebody, YouTube guy. But anyway, I've refreshed my brain on this stuff. But it's really this whole what we are thing. And so anyway, if you just look at these fruit flies, I mean, they know how to fly automatically. They're born with it. They're just amazing what's going on in this little tiny, tiny speck of a brain. I mean, how many, if you took our whole brain and dissected it, I mean, weighted or what, I mean, however you want to go, I mean, how many fruit fly brains worth of neurons do we have? Like 10 zillion fruit flies, a billion fruit fly brains? I mean, we should be doing kick ass. We should be doing a hell of a lot better than we're doing, considering how much software potential, we have space wise. And so obviously our brain is not wired as efficiently as a fruit fly. I mean, for raw processing power. I mean, it's getting a lot more out of it. I mean, the dynamics of flight is not, three dots of code. I mean, it's a little complicated. It's just not wing down, wing up thing. It's more complicated than that. And to have that built in is pretty amazing. But the problem with humans is you know, the real catch is that our brain was developed not to do the built-in thing. So there was no set agenda for the brain function, for the software, for the program. And that's why it's such sloppy code, is because it doesn't have a set function. It's not a set mission like, God, that fly is going to really irritate me. Anyway, yeah, so there's no set mission. There's no set agenda like flight or like driving a car or like some mechanical skill like architecture or physics or biology. But just think of if it took as much brain power to know, all of what we know of biological science would take maybe the same amount of processing power as it takes for a fruit fly to successfully fly and navigate and interact and move and do all that stuff that it's doing. I mean, theoretically, that makes some sort of vague sense that would be comparable processing power. I mean, with a billion fruit fly brain power, we should be able to conquer all the sciences, everything. We should be incredibly intelligent, but we're not. We seem so dim and slow by comparison. I mean, this little tiny thing is having this intricate, complex, very fast, sensually, bombarded and reacting, and our reflexes seem so clunky and slow, and our thoughts and everything's so slow by comparison. And so I don't think we're the best complexity can lead to. Um, it could do a lot better. Um, but we were designed through evolution, and it wasn't with a designed mission. Swim or fly or run or whatever the thing you want to maximize is. And so that's why our software is so poor, is it's doing this sloppy learning thing. And it takes 20 years to come to the simplest conclusions and to organize the A, B, C, D's, the 1, 2, 3, 4, to get the things in the right order for the software to even be functional, to even know your business. You have to just filter through all the chaos and the slop that is our life experience to try to glean it into some kind of simple, in the end, equations that are more functional than the mush that you start with. So where am I going with this? Yeah, well, it just points out that we think of ourselves. Matt's even used the word like we are more complex, like we're somehow higher on the complexity scale. And no, I don't think we are necessarily. I don't think that fruit fly is any less complex than we are. It's just designed for a narrower functionality. It doesn't need to know physics to do what it has to do to function, to do what it has to do with its little organs and its little parts, and to accomplish its reproduction task. And so it doesn't lack complexity. It lacks the sloppy directionality that we acquired through a very eccentric niche environment that we were exploiting, where sociology and defensive strategies were what was rewarded. This more complicated lifestyle, and we just have a more complicated lifestyle because of the environment we were exploiting. It required that nuance of behavior. We had to not only find food, but we had to avoid predators and do all that, in a way that demanded more modeling skills, more anticipation, more. Um, um, it just wasn't might that made the game. You had to have the right brain stuff to play, to succeed, and to be as adaptable, I guess, too. That was sort of our the thing that made humans so successful was that adaptability. They took on many different environments, from deserts to icebergs. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if I have to keep banging at this one, but it just is something to ponder. Boy, you look at something so tiny having such a functional brain, and it's humbling to just appreciate just how, as much as this language thing and this sentient, complex thought, romantic bullshit that goes on in our heads is interesting, it is clunky. It is sloppy and pretty dysfunctional by comparison. Uh, the mass is certainly by mass. But that's another thing where, our brain, I think, is. I mean, I don't think there's brain we're not using. We're using it all. We store memories, and some of those, to gain something, you have to let go of something in a way. But the space the brain does take up is kind of a weird circumstance. Because there doesn't seem to have much advantage to having a big head, because it's tougher on women to give birth and all that other stuff. And it does seem that the facts indicate that our brain could take up a lot less space. There's people who are born with fluid in their brain, and it pushes their brain mass basically to the outside of their skull. And their brain, their actual neurons, occupy far less space. They don't lose any mental capacity. Their brain just takes up less space. And so even right there, there's a sort of inefficiency in our design where it could have evolved, where we didn't need to have this big a brain to do this functionality. It just didn't evolve that way. I mean, it could have been like an MP4 file instead of an MPG file. I mean, it could have been just much better compressed, the algorithm of our brain structure could have been better optimized, but we just didn't evolve that way. It just didn't happen. That evolutionary branch, we didn't fall on it, or we didn't climb out on it by circumstance. So anyway, enough of a video, I think. So yeah, doing some experiments, so videos will be a little weird until I'm done experimenting, which will probably be never. But anyway, that's all. Thank you very much and such. Oh, stand by.